In this video we're going to look at translating Excel files which have more than one column. Now normally when we translate an Excel file we have, for example, English text, source text here, and we would replace it with a Portuguese text. So this would be the target and we would save it. Most translating involves taking the source, one language, language A, and translating into another language in the same place. What we want to translate here, first of all, is a text where we have several columns and it is multilingual. So we have English, French, German, Portuguese. Now, I've given you as an exercise to translate the Portuguese here, keeping the English. There are several ways to do this, and I'm interested to see which way you come up with. But if we look at the multilingual situation, we have three translations into three languages of a text, and we want a fourth language, in this case Portuguese. Now, just for the sake of simplifying things, let's say that column A is the source text in English, and we want to put a target text in Portuguese in column D. So what we must remember, we don't really need for the translation to use columns B and C, or put another way, we only need to use one of these. So let's say A has the source, which is English, and D has the target, which is Portuguese. Let's see how we would translate this. So, in Q, in translations, in a project that's English-Portuguese, let's open up the first file to translate, which is this file. Now, because this is an Excel file, MemoQ quite reasonably offers us the Microsoft Excel filter. But we've chosen import options because we actually want to change some of the options. We want to change the filter and the configuration. Because we have a multilingual situation, we want to choose this multilingual delimited text filter. There's also another multilingual filter which is for XML files, but we want this one, multilingual delimited text. Delimited text means the text is specified, and in this case we have Excel columns specifying A is English, B is French, C is German, and D is Portuguese. So let's select this. When we select this, we can see there are various tabs here where we can make various choices. Let's use, and we can see that we're using Excel here, this is a base format. Let's come over here to columns. Now we have some information, some general information here, and then here we have the columns and we define the meaning of columns. So let's try this. First of all, we click here, we tick because first row contains column names. That's actually true. We have EN, FR, DE, PT. The source language is English, okay? If input contains target language text, in this case we have no Portuguese text. We're going to create it all, so we don't need to do anything here. We're just using an Excel file with one sheet. Remember, A is the source, which is English. D is the target, which is Portuguese. So, if I select A, meaning of selected column, well, it's a source text. And we have the English text indicating it's a source language here. B and C we're not going to deal with. We don't need it for the translation. So we click on D, meaning of selected column. Well, that's where the translation is going. And we're translating column A. In theory, you could have more than one column as a source text. But in column D, we want to create a translation of column A, and that translation is in Portuguese. Now D says it's a translation for A in Portuguese. And we can click on OK to import this. And click on OK again. Oops, this is the problem with having large file format boxes. You couldn't quite see the OK there, but I was doing that so this screen is as large as possible because some of the writing in the boxes is quite small. I have a horrible feeling I just cancelled it. Let's try again. So let's change the filter to multilingual delimited text, and we say first row, OK, A is the source text, D is the translation of A into Portuguese. Here we need to try and see what we can see at the bottom. If we just remove, create, let's hope this one works. Yeah. Let's open this up. So we just see the column A, the source text, and we translate. Now let's export the final translation, and we can see it looks like PT at the beginning, and we can see we've managed to translate the Portuguese text into column D. Let's try the next file, which has some Portuguese already. So let's import that file. Once again, we don't want the Excel file filter. We want the multilingual delimited text filter. And we go to columns. The first row contains column names, the source is English. Now, if input contains target language, well actually it does, we've got some text already translated. Let's import that text as confirmed and locked. So basically we can see it, the context might be useful, but it's locked, we can't change it. Remember that A is the source text, which is in English. We don't want B and C, or rather we don't need it. D is, the meaning is target. Translation, and it's a translation of column A into Portuguese. So it's the same as previously, except we have some existing translated text, and we say we want that to be considered as confirmed and locked. Now let's see if I can get the right setting here. Once again, we just can't see the OK button so that the text can be as large as possible on your screen. So let's see what we get here. Well, similar as before, but the text that was already given has been locked. Let's just translate this. And let's save the final translation. And we can see we've got the translations in the right place, and the original text that was already translated has not been altered. Thank you very much for listening to this video.